Xbox could be releasing another major first-party game next year, which would add to the insane lineup. There's a big rumor going around here, and it seems like there's a lot of weight behind it. So if this comes true, it's going to be pretty phenomenal. Sony, they have completed their deal with Kadokawa, but it's not what you think it is. It isn't an entire acquisition. So we'll talk about that. And the next generation, there's always that discussion about the consoles. And will Xbox still be a player in it? And in fact, will PlayStation continue with the console market going forward past maybe the PlayStation 6? There is a new report here from some analysts that are saying next gen will only be able to have one other competing console besides a Nintendo console. So we'll take a look at that. I don't fully agree with it, but some interesting information in there. Plus many other things like Tango Gameworks with Hi-Fi Rush. We have some news on that and some more news about GTA 6 and a handheld conference style of thing at CES. That's going to be the future, in my opinion, going forward with the console style of devices. And Steam is getting ahead of everybody here. So we'll talk about that plus more. But if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, hit the subscribe, share the video, like the video, and let's jump into it right here with a huge rumor that if this comes true, on top of everything that Xbox already has in 2025, it is looking like it's going to be one of the greatest years ever, if not the greatest year ever in Xbox history in terms of their output. And that is the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remake could be revealed next month, meaning that it could be launching in 2025. And as we know, it's going to be the developer direct in January, which they've had the past 2 years. And you would bet that they're going to have the 2025 version as well around the same time. And at that developer direct, they could be showing off here a game that we've heard rumors about previously. Nobody really knew if it was actually happening or true. Looks like more and more that the facts are that this game is going to be shown off. We have Ecstasies here, who is saying not only is Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake real, but Xbox could announce the game at an Xbox Direct event in January. And not only could it be announced next month, but the game could also be released sometime in 2025. I believe Nate the Hate had already previously talked about this happening a couple of weeks ago, and I think he's going to touch on that further, that this is actually true, that Oblivion Remake is in development and we're going to see it, and it's going to be in 2025. So that's pretty crazy to see. It says, if you recall, the first word of a remake or remaster of the game came during the FTC's investigation into Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And at the time, the documents revealed the game was expected during fiscal year 2022, but that obviously never came to fruition. And now we're sitting here and waiting. Is now going to be the time that they show off Oblivion, the remake from Elder Scrolls, from Bethesda. I mean, it's just, that would be insane. I would love to see this happen. This game would instantly move up to top of my hype list to see just how they're going to handle it and how much better they're going to make it from the original one, which was a phenomenal game. But you think about the releases in 2025, you got Doom, you have South of Midnight, you're going to have the next Call of Duty, Fable, Avowed, and then we're hearing about the Outer Worlds 2, which is also 2025, which they showed off at the Game Awards. And then you're going to add in the Oblivion Remake. That's just an insane lineup. They're able to hit on all of those. The question is, will any of these get pushed? To me, that's like 7 games all at once. And then there's still going to be more stuff that does come out that we don't know about, whether that is first party Game Pass stuff that gets dropped into the service or third-party deals that come into Game Pass. It's like 2025 is going to be so jam-packed. I don't know how people are going to be able to play all of these games. I would consider at some point spreading these out and making a little bit of a smaller 2025 year, so you know that you have games for 2026 as well. I'm sure 2026 is going to be massive too. Maybe they just have so many games in the works right now, and that ball that got finally started rolling down the hill at an extremely fast pace, that they have so many games that they can continue with hitting their cadence going forward here for the foreseeable future. That's massive. It's massive if this is another one that comes out in 2025. It's going to be a very, very exciting year. I can't wait for that developer direct. I can't wait for the announcement so we can see if all of this stuff does come true. But let's say this rumor is fake and it doesn't come true. 2025 is still jam-packed. So this is just more stuff. If you're an RPG lover, Xbox is by far the best place to play. They have all of these massive RPGs and they're all coming out here. And we'll see how good that they are in terms of the ratings and reviews and everything. I'm sure they will be good based off of their pedigree from previous games. But as you can tell, I'm very excited about this, about 2025 and what Xbox has to offer. Now, there is a massive piece of news that has been circulating around now for a while now, a couple of weeks here. that was Sony going out there and trying to get a huge acquisition in Kadokawa, which would help bolster their PlayStation division, obviously help bolster many other things like their anime and TV and movies and stuff, because Kadokawa has a lot of different things in the company. And there was a discussion as to what they were talking back and forth about. We had heard from both Sony and from Kadokawa that the rumors were true. They were in discussions. They were kind of just trying to decide how do they want to go about this. Either it's an acquisition of everything, or they only buy a certain parts of the company. And from what we heard, Kadokawa wanted Sony to buy everything, and Sony wasn't as keen to do that. And now we know that it did end up here with them not fully buying out Kadokawa, but just actually increasing their share. So no acquisition here of Kadokawa by Sony. If you're a fan of From Software games and you were worried about those games not landing on the platform that you play, because Sony, as we know, notoriously loves their exclusivity stuff, you don't really have to worry about that now. So this is probably good news for a lot of people. But it says here that this is a news press release from Sony themselves. Kadokawa and Sony agreed to form a strategic capital and business alliance. So what it says here is that the Sony group signed a strategic capital and business alliance agreement agreeing to conduct a third-party allotment of Kadokawa to Sony on January 7th, 2025, acquiring 12,054,100 new Kadokawa shares for approximately 50 billion yen. With the acquisition of the new shares, Sony will become Kadokawa's largest shareholder, holding approximately 10% of its shares, including the shares Sony previously acquired in February 2021. So they purchased more shares. They now own 10% of the company, but this in no way is going to stop Kadokawa from publishing From Software games onto Xbox, onto PC. And in general, that would just not make any business sense if you're invested in this company. And Sony themselves would also want the company to make the most amount of money. As they are major investors, they're not going to take games off of other platforms. So that's what it is, at least for now. Maybe this is just the beginning, and maybe they go in further talks and eventually purchase them fully. But as of right now, it looks like all of those discussions about an acquisition and everything that was happening over the last little while ended up with this happening, which is just Sony increasing their overall investment into Kadokawa with now owning 10% of it. All right. Now, when we were talking about consoles, there is a new analyst company here that has put out a report about what they believe the next generation is going to have in terms of the consoles that are out there. I don't fully agree with this because I guess I'll just give you my opinion right off the bat. Unless they're telling us that Microsoft is lying nonstop about what they are doing with their next generation hardware, this report doesn't really make that much sense to me. I can definitely understand that consoles are struggling and that the market is finite and really not growing very much. But to suggest here that next generation will only have either Xbox or PlayStation, one of them is going to pull out of the market, based off of everything that we're hearing from Xbox, Microsoft, that would just mean they are outright lying. But here is the report. It says the games industry will only have room for one non-Nintendo console next gen. It is claimed, and it says market research firm DFC Intelligence released its annual market report and forecast this week, in which it projects major revenue growth for the second half of the decade, while predicting significant risk for one of the three established console manufacturers. And DFC predicts that thanks to new hardware from Nintendo, which is going to be the Switch 2, and that's probably going to be very, very successful, because it does not seem like they're moving away from what they did with the Switch, which, if you look at Nintendo's history, that's kind of what has gotten them in hot water from generation to generation, is they make these major changes and then it just doesn't catch on. If you look from like the 64 to the GameCube, and then from the Nintendo Wii to the Nintendo Wii U, those did not really catch on because of marketing, because of the previous generation being so successful and nobody really wanting what Nintendo was asking for. But with the Nintendo Switch, people still want that portability. They're going to be giving that. They're going to be basically just giving you an upgrade in Nintendo Switch, and I can see that having no issues in the overall market. And it says here that major releases such as GTA 6, the games industry will enjoy record growth in 2025 following a period of decline following the COVID-19 pandemic. We also GTA 6 is coming in 2025, so they say, but we don't have a confirmation of a release date yet. The firm predicts that the number of people worldwide who play video games will exceed 4 billion by 2027, and nearly half of the global population. And it projects that Nintendo will be the clear winner in the next generation of consoles due to largely a combination of earlier availability and limited competition. And when it comes to that point, this is why I've been saying now for the last little while, if Xbox has a handheld in the works, they should launch that as soon as possible, because you don't need that thing to play AAA games at the highest level. You just need it to give you access to your Xbox library on the go, play a lot of older stuff, obviously play the latest stuff. But you look at the current handhelds that are out there, people are okay with not having the best resolutions and frame rates on a handheld. Doesn't need to be top of the line. It just needs to get the job done with a nice console user interface. You get that out early, you're going to have a high chance of success, but it seems like they're waiting longer to try to put out the Xbox handheld. Now, they continue on here and say that the only one of Sony and Microsoft will be able to successfully compete with Nintendo with their new console launch by 2028. And they're thinking the console's coming by 2028. Logically, you have to step back and look at this and say it's going to be Sony if they are correct on this. It's not going to be the Xbox console that's going to compete with Nintendo just by the sheer numbers of how much it sells, and then also the fact that Xbox doesn't have any presence in other parts of the world besides basically North America. So it's going to be the PlayStation one. So they're essentially here saying that Xbox is dropping off of the console market, and they're not even going to have one in the next generation. They say there isn't room for more than two major console systems. Sony or Microsoft will struggle mightily in a distant third place, largely depending on which of those companies can gain early momentum. And they believe it's too early to know which of Xbox and PlayStation will drop off next gen, stating that price points, launch dates, and other basic features such as portability will factor in a new Sony system. The PlayStation 6 should have an advantage because of a loyal base and strong Sony IP, but Microsoft failed with the Xbox Series X and S, but as a major acquisition to become the world's largest software publisher, Microsoft has the option of focusing on software and distribution models over the hardware. And they also go on here to say, for the past 3 decades, the video game industry has grown more than 20 times, and after 2 years of slumping hardware and software sales, is poised to resume growing at a healthy rate through the end of the decade, which I don't fully agree with that analysis either, because I think the console market is what it is. It'll grow, but it will grow slowly. I don't see the next generation just having a huge boost in overall console sales. And I think companies like Xbox and even PlayStation, they see those numbers. And that's kind of where they're predicting the market to grow, that they have to put their games in more places and give people more access, because the console market isn't going to have just a major growth going forward. But next generation, I don't think either PlayStation or Xbox are dropping off. I think after next gen, then there's question marks, but we will have an next Xbox, we will have a next PlayStation, and there may be multiple different versions of both of the next generation consoles. Price points will be huge. That is the biggest question going forward. What will they release at least at the main at-home version of the console? Will it be a $700 price tag, which is what the PS5 Pro launched at? But we'll see. Basically, they're saying Nintendo is successful and the rest are going to have to fight for second place. And if the other third console stays on, it'll be a far distant third place before they end off producing the console itself. And a lot of people will read this and say they agree because of the way that Xbox is handling their first party IPs by putting them everywhere. But it will be very interesting to see how they do continue to promote people going out there and buying the Xbox console. Game Pass, other features as well. And then we've looked at the statistics on here that first party content, first party exclusives aren't the main reason people do buy consoles. It's a part of it, but it's not the number one reason. You could just look at the overall games sold on each platform every single year. All right, let's talk Tango Gameworks, because as we know, Xbox allowed it to live after closing it by selling it to Krafton, and allowed Hi-Fi Rush IP to go over to Krafton as well. And they say here that they want to cherish the Hi-Fi Rush IP after the Xbox closure. So this is via speaking with IGN. They say many of our staff have a lot of love for Hi-Fi Rush, so we feel like we have options. We're currently at the stage of considering various opportunities. Not only me, but many of the development staff have a strong attachment to Hi-Fi Rush. Not only the game, but also the characters in the world are beloved by us, so I want to cherish this IP. I think Tango Gameworks is about taking on new challenges. I hope to continue to work in a way that puts developers at the center without losing our passion. So Hi-Fi Rush 2 is on the way. I think we've already heard this previously as well, that they've basically said, yeah, they want to continue to make that game. It does have a very loyal fan base. It's not a major, huge fan base as some people try to make it out to be. I loved Hi-Fi Rush. It was one of my favorite games of the year, 2023, when it did launch. But people play it up like it had this massive fan base and it had tons of sales and everything. Even when they launched on the PlayStation, it still didn't do very well. But I absolutely hope they continue to make this game and try to grow that fan base so we can get not just another Hi-Fi Rush, but Hi-Fi Rush for future generations and everything. That would be great to see. But it's good to see that they're still thinking about, they're still going to work on it, and we should be getting a new game in that series sometime in the future. Now, speaking about Grand Theft Auto 6 and the release date, this is a big question. People still don't 100% believe it's coming out in 2025. You even have publishers waiting to announce release dates for their game because they're not fully sold on the release date for Grand Theft Auto 6. And now we have a bit more information by a GTA 5 actor who has a role in GTA 6 and mentions the release window for GTA 6, and it's what people expect. They are even referencing here that it could be coming out in 2026. So people are kind of just sitting back and waiting to see if this game is going to get delayed. But it says, during the interview, the American actor and producer explained what he worked on when GTA 5 was in development. This is YouTuber Johnny Ray Gill. And he says, and then heavily referenced being involved in another situation at the world that may be coming out in 2025, 2026. And they say it's easy to surmise that he's talking about GTA 6 given his connections with Rockstar Games and GTA 5. So that sounds to me kind of like a slip of the tongue, because at the end of the day, he is mentioning here that even he doesn't fully know that this game is still coming out in 2025. His exact quote was, "Stay on the lookout. I can't say anything, but there's another situation happening in that world that may be coming out in 2025, 2026 that I'm really happy about." So even the voice actors aren't sure if this game is going to make a 2025 release date. If it gets pushed to 2026, you may see a bunch more games launching in the end of 2025 because they don't want to be anywhere near maybe an early 2026 for GTA 6. So that's interesting. I have a feeling that this is going to get pushed, that they're going to delay it in the first couple of months here of 2025 and then launch some more campaigns, maybe show off another gameplay video trailer of it, and then say, to make it the best game ever, we're going to push it to 2026. All right, Nintendo Switch 2, as we're talking about the consoles as well, it is everything's basically coming out about this before they give the official announcement and release, but we have a bit more information here. The Switch 2 is reportedly going to eliminate stick drift, which was a major issue with the first one, and come with a more powerful dock, which to me is like the more interesting thing in this. But it says here, recent weeks have seen several accessory manufacturers circulate what is seemingly mock-ups of the final hardware of Nintendo's next console. And they haven't revealed it yet, but they plan to do during its current fiscal year, which ends March 2025. A Reddit user is now claiming to have seen the final retail unit of the machine and has said that the next Nintendo console will be named the Nintendo Switch 2 and will feature a more powerful dock as well as magnetic Joy-Cons, something we've already kind of heard about, and claims that these Joy-Cons will eliminate stick drift. And The Verge reports that it has spoken to Next Handheld that they are largely convinced that the information provided by the user is legitimate. So cool stuff there. I'm very interested in what they mean by a more powerful dock. What will this mean for the output of the Nintendo Switch 2? Are they going to be targeting here a higher resolution past 1080p? Like, are they going to maybe push it to like 1440p? I know 4K is the norm that these consoles currently want to try to output, especially if you're not in performance mode. Most of the games don't even hit that, but are they going to advertise 4K on this dock? This dock will be able to push the Switch to 4K. I'm kind of skeptical. Maybe it'll just be like 1440p and then it'll just be crisper. 1440p is a perfectly fine resolution. So I would not be surprised to see that, but it's also a weird resolution that the average, I guess you could say, like normie gamer who doesn't look at all of the specs and everything, they may be kind of confused when they're seeing 1440p. Right now, it's basically everything is 4K, and then they also have just like regular HD at 1080p. 1440p is more kind of like a monitor PC resolution that is the sweet spot. So who knows what this new dock means, or maybe it'll just stay 1080p but give you better FPS. A lot of stuff that we do not know, and hopefully Nintendo just comes out soon and lets us know exactly what this Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be. And then finally, we have this. I think this is very cool. I'm very excited about the future of PC gaming handhelds. And one of the companies that is the leader is Steam, right? And what they are doing is they are licensing out SteamOS to other manufacturers like Lenovo to be able to put SteamOS on their upcoming devices. And I think that's very, very smart. And to me, it's Steam beating competitors to the punch. For example, beating Xbox to the punch, which I think this is exactly what Xbox should be doing, but they haven't given us any information about what they're trying to do with handhelds. But Valve is going to be at this new gaming handheld events, and Lenovo will be a special guest at this gaming handheld event, which you can guess they're going to be showing off the Lenovo Type S or whatever it's called with the Steam OS on it. But I'm excited about this. It says the future of gaming handhelds is coming to CES 25, and you have a front row seat. And they say, let me translate it. It looks like Lenovo just tactically confirmed that it will announce the first SteamOS handheld in Las Vegas on or before January 7th, 2025. And we're expecting it to be the Steam button-equipped Lenovo Legion Go S that leaker Evan Blass revealed last week. So we're going to see more about handhelds and exactly the future of them in terms of the PC gaming side of things, how Steam and Lenovo are going to be working together. Is there going to be more hardware that they do show off? But I definitely believe if you're Xbox and you're looking at this and you're seeing Steam do this, which they've had an extremely successful Steam Deck, more successful, I believe, than all of the other PC handhelds out there, then you want to get ahead of the race as well and start with putting your Xbox handheld out and then partnering with these other companies and have a large range of Xbox handhelds that people can choose from, where you get access to your entire Xbox library, Game Pass, everything. I think will be very competitive in this race here. But right now, Steam is at the forefront with this licensing out to Lenovo. But I'll end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.